The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Friday. I got my days right this time. My calendar was only on mayoral candidates because of the upcoming election.
And last night it was a very interesting debate.
Yeah, and kudos to the moderator who's sitting up there in the booth. He did a very, very good job of controlling the debate and making sure that there wasn't a lot of, without a whip and a chair, I may add, which sometimes is necessary during these debates. But it was good. They let everybody speak. I hope you people watched it. If you didn't, please watch the replay. The more you know about a candidate, the more intelligent vote you can cast. So without further ado, we have our second guest of our second round, City Councilor, former City Council President, Joe Camara. Welcome to the show, Joe.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you for having me. CJ, thank you for having me as well.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thank FRC Media for putting this on and having the candidates show up. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make a little opening statement, I know you did it yesterday, but we can get right to it, or you can make a little statement.
Well, I mean, and listen, my name is Joe Camara. I'm a city councilor and a lifelong resident of the city of Fall River. My wife and I were both born and raised here. We raised our 3 children here. Proud to be Fall River resident and been involved in our community. We realize the importance of giving back and being involved in the community. That's something that I've always done, and quite frankly, I'm honored to be the recipient of a number of citations that I brought with me today, some of them from Congressman Bonnie Frank, and you can look at it, for giving me a citation, not for being elected to the city council, but for my involvement in my community and the things that I've done in the community, above and beyond being an elected official. Jim McGovern, the governor, state representatives, they've all recognized me for the things that I've done above and beyond being elected to public office, for my work within the community. They say outstanding dedication and commitment in your community. So I'm very proud of those citations, something that I take a lot of pride in. Coaching children in the youth soccer program, in the CYO program, in the Milliken Silver League program, in the baseball program. I've done that throughout my entire adult life, and something I'm very proud of, and something that I think most people should do. Give back to the community. I've been very fortunate. I played sports my entire life. My children played sports. And I understand the importance of being a team player, being able to work together to accomplish the common goal, and that's something that I believe in firmly, and that's something I've done as an elected official, something I do in my private life, work every day. The people I work with over at ABC Supply, I do have a full-time job. Someone said that she was the only candidate up there with a full-time job. I have a full-time job. I've been having a full-time job since the day I was, since I was practically out of high school. So I'm proud of that. I understand what it is to work with other people to get things done, because nobody can do it by themselves, and no one has the ability to be successful unless there are a lot of other people that want to help you succeed, and that's the key. Working with people in the government, working with people outside the government is the key to turning the city around, and right now we're not getting that. We're getting the opposite. We're getting people who do not want to work with the current mayor, and that's unfortunate, so we need to change that.
Well, thank you for that opening, and obviously we also have to cite and congratulate you. Whether we agree or disagree with your positions, you've been a councilor and part of the political process in the city for over 20 years. So that, regardless of whether people may not agree with everybody on every issue, but the fact that you committed yourself to taking in with anything like city council or leadership, like union presidents or anything else like that. When it goes right, we did it. When it goes wrong, you did it. And it's always a difficult thing. And it shows, at least it shows to me, a commitment to even run for office. And anybody, we always say, even the people who don't get elected, the people who attempt to at least be part of the process, we have to recognize that.
Right, I appreciate that. And let me just tell you the importance of that, is that I've been serving for going on my 24th year. It's 23 years and running right now. But I only have a 2-year term. Every 2 years, I have to go back and prove myself. And the people have said to me, you know, if they took the cameras out of the council chambers, the meetings would run a lot smoother and they'd be a lot easier and it'd be a lot better. And I says, no, put the cameras there so people can see who's saying what, who's doing what. Let the people know what's going on, because that's the only way that you can prove yourself to the people and earn their respect and earn their trust. By the decisions you make, the votes you take, the questions you ask, the answers you get, people need to know. And thank God we have a lot of people in this community that watch those meetings and pay attention. And I want to thank the people in this community for continuing to elect me to City Council and giving me the opportunity to serve, because it's an honor and a pleasure. And I work my butt off. I study the issues, I research everything, I ask the questions, and then I go there and I'm prepared to vote on all the issues. And in the last 23 years, I said it last night, I'll say it again, I've missed 5 city council meetings, 5. Twice I was out of the country, once was my father's wake, and 2 other times I was too sick to attend. So I couldn't go, and I think that's a pretty outstanding record for a city councilor in 23 years.
Well, that's true, and with that, it segues into an issue. I watched the debate. I thought it was a pretty good debate. I thought you acquitted yourself well.
Thank you.
But I also have some people that I speak to about debates. A cross section of the city of Fall River. I have some liberals, some conservatives, some moderates, some people who are involved in politics, some people are just regular people, and I've spoken to them already about that debate. They even called me last night after the debate, and we kind of had a little discussion on it. So what I want to ask you is, because I think I think the perspective I got from some of them is real, because being in politics for almost 24 years and being highly visible, but being a counselor, it's a positive or a negative. Some people can perceive you as the status quo candidate. In other words, you've gone along to get along, and granted you've taken positions, but as a city councilor, because you only dispose, you don't propose, and you want to now ascend to a leadership position, how do can you frame why you believe that you can switch from being somebody who just basically decides whether a direction is correct to the individual who's going to actually steer the ship and set the direction that the city moves forward in?
Absolutely, sure I can. And you're right, there's been times where I as a councilor have had to vote against budgets because I didn't approve of them. And there's been times that I voted against many mayors that I agreed with all the time, but on certain issues I don't agree with them, and I'll stand up. And I'm probably the most independent person that's been on the council during my entire tenure there, because I love to get along with people when they're doing the right thing, and I will fight with them as hard as anyone else will when they're doing the right thing. But when I think they're doing something that's not in the best interest of the community, then I have to stand up against them and let them know that I can't support it. And I've done that in the past as well. I will continue to do that. But as a mayor, there's a lot of things that I've done as a councilor that have given advice to certain mayors. Sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. So there's nothing you can do with that. Our job as councilors is to counsel mayors, counsel department heads, give people counsel, give them our opinion on certain issues. And the longer you serve there, the more you know the institutional knowledge of why we've done certain things, why we're going to do certain things, or why we can't do certain things. So as all of this takes place, there are always issues that come out of the blue. There's always things that come like the unexpected. It's like the boxer that's in a boxing match. He's got a plan and how he's going to fight this and how he's going to battle this. And then all of a sudden he gets hit with a right hook that he wasn't expecting. And then next thing you know, he gets hit with a body blow that he wasn't expecting. And that starts to change his plans. It starts to change things. Unfortunately, in city government, there are a lot of issues that come up that are beyond anyone's control that you have to deal with. And that's part of being someone who can say, okay, now what are we going to do now? What are we going to strategize to give the city what it really needs, which is city services, which is public safety, which is education? How can we focus on all these things that we have to get accomplished, at the same time dealing with all these other issues, such as the LNG, such as, I mean, how many years did we fight the LNG battle? And it took our resources away from developing our waterfront. We spent millions of dollars on attorneys to fight this ridiculous proposal that someone was trying to put in our own backyard. I went to Washington, paid my own way there and back to testify in front of Congressman Frank's office with other people, with the Federal Regulatory Energy Agency, on why this was not good for our community. Those are the type of things that I've done and I continue to do, and as mayor I'm going to continue to do, to make sure that we give the residents of this community the services they deserve at a reasonable price, make intelligent, rational decisions, prepare city budgets that are reasonable and rational that can provide the city services and saving the taxpayer as much money as possible. At the same time, hold people accountable. That's what I've done as a councilor. That's what I'll continue to do as a mayor.
Just one quick follow-up question
Shoot.
on that. When you went to D.C. and you paid your own way, did you stay at a 5-star hotel?
I did not.
Oh, just checking.
As a matter of
Okay,
fact,
no.
as a matter of fact, I like it. That's fine. That's a great question. I woke up at that morning about 4:30 in the morning. I caught a 6:30 flight to Washington. We got to Washington roughly around 8 o'clock. We met with the congressman in the morning, grabbed a sandwich. In the afternoon, we flew back. I was home by 10 o'clock that night. It was a one-day trip. I didn't stay at a 5-star hotel, and if I had, I would have paid for it out of my own pocket. But I'm not that kind of person, and unfortunately, I don't even like to travel, and I won't travel, and never have in 23 years at the city's expense. And I know the current mayor has done that, but I will never do that. As a matter of fact, when I ran for council, I eliminated the travel expenses that was in the city council's operating budget, and I fought to eliminate those. I think it was $9,000 that was put in there by the previous council president. And as a campaigner, I said, this is ridiculous. Why do we need to give councilors $9,000 to travel? If they want to go, let them pay for it themselves. If they want to go to an event or go to an MAA association meeting that's happening in Boston and stay overnight and get the benefits of that, pay for it out of your own pocket. This is a paid position. We get paid. Take some of your money and pay for it, and then go. Don't put it on the taxpayers that are working very hard, that are donating and trying to find every penny to make their own life work, and then have to pay taxes and have to pay fees and everything else so that I can travel on their expense. I will never do that. I've never done that. If I'm going to go places, I'll pay for it out of my own pocket.
Well, good answer. See, this is why we like this format. You're not restricted by minutes, and also it gets us, opens up some other questions.
And let me go one step further.
Sure, absolutely.
As a city councilor, I've had the opportunity to be on the city's health plan. I've never been on the city's health plan, and I'm not on the city's health plan. And that's something that other people have done as well. And I don't begrudge people if they want to do that, because it's a little bit different, but I chose not to do it. I pay for my own health insurance. I'm fortunate that I'm able to have health insurance apart from the city, but I don't want to put the burden on the taxpayers for that as well. And I'll continue to do that.
Well, okay. But as I said, this brings us into something else. You mentioned about travel. Now we know our mayor, we know our mayor's travel itineraries, and we look just down the road to, I think it was must be one of his idols, but Jorge Elorza spent 148 days out of the city of Providence, and we've spoken about that on the show. We talk about these things, but it brings up something that the mayor seems to say exactly what Elorza said. I remember an interview with Elorza when somebody was saying, what do you're out of the city almost a half a year, 6 months a year traveling, and he said, well, it's no big deal. All I do is pick up the phone and talk to my directors. And the mayor basically said that about not attending meetings and somebody's going to carry the ball. This community is not you're not the president of the United States. You're not running a $1 trillion budget. It's not New York City, which is has more employees than some states. Yet we've seen this switch to a cabinet-style government. You have department heads that are being paid to run their departments. Yet we see the mayor having all these tiers of people to fundamentally do his work. Are you going to be a mayor that says, well, I'm just going to pick up the phone and find out if everybody that we hired and paid out of the taxpayers' money, they're doing their job, and I'm kind of just going to be running for office and being a ceremonial mayor? And that's why I believe that we see the Type E charter being discussed in this city, because a lot of people feel that the mayor in Fall River has almost elevated themselves to a ceremonial mayor.
Yeah, well, I don't feel that way at all.
You're going to be a hands-on mayor. That's my bottom line on it.
I'm a hands-on person, period. I like to do things myself. I like to be engaged in what's going on, because that's the only way you'll know what's going on, is if you're there physically. And if you can't be there, then yes, I am going to pick up the phone for whatever reason. But I'll reach to people that I need to reach to through any method necessary. If I need to call them, I'll call them. If I need to see them face-to-face, I'll call them. I like to personally be there face-to-face because I think it's more productive. It's a lot easier. It's just a matter of being engaged. You want to know what's going on as much as possible. I will say the mayor has a lot of responsibilities, whoever the mayor is, a lot of responsibilities, so it's hard to be everywhere. But for what I do now for my private work job, my private sector, I'm engaged with all of my customers on a regular basis. I stop by, I see them, I enjoy people. I like talking to people, I learn a lot from other people. So I like to be there present. I attend as many meetings as possible. in my private sector, in my private work job, I'll do that all the time. And my company sends us to different seminars and different places that they pay for it, and that's a little bit different because they're the ones that are saying, I'm mandated to go. That's part of my job. So that's something that you have to look at as well. So if it's mandated and you have to be there, that's one thing. To just say I'm going to go on a vacation or a trip to research something that really isn't necessary, I'm not going to use taxpayers' money for that. I'm the kind of person that I'll roll up my sleeves 24/7. I don't run from the issues. I like to be engaged. I like to know what's going on. And if I can't be there, then yes, I'll call someone who was there to explain to me what it was that I missed, what it was that I should know, and what we're going to do to solve whatever issues. And you can talk to all the department heads in City Hall. You can talk to all the people throughout the city, regular workers and stuff, and people that are on a day-to-day, on the grounds, doing things. I talk to them all the time because I enjoy it, I like it, and I learn that way, and I get a lot of my best information that way.
Well, that's true, but
regular citizens as well.
And along those lines, and I know you said, the mayor's got a lot to do, and I understand that. So does, but you and I have gone through a lot of mayors. I've negotiated against a lot of mayors. Ed Lambert, who I went hammer and tong with on many, many occasions, as I have with everybody, and I don't think I ever saw Ed Lambert not make an important meeting. He figured out a way to get most of them. Obviously, there's going to be some conflicts that are unavoidable. Sure. But for the most part, Ed Lambert made every political time after hours, and he made virtually everything he needed to get to, and with a lot less people and with a lot less help. And yet, we had a city then where we had 300 firefighters on the job. We had more police, more teachers, higher student population, a greater population in the city. And with all these things, we saw far less, help for the mayor. This to me seems kind of like almost, as I said, this is the reason that an E-type government, you're going to be hands-on. And the other thing that's segueing into the mayor's comment, and you actually said something along these lines too. This is from the Herald News article. Camara also accused the media of inflating the perception of crime in the city and painting it in a negative light. Let me comment on that, okay? We were voted the most dangerous city in the state of Massachusetts, the second most dangerous in New England. These are about statistics. We know that statistics can be manipulated, but I'm not even talking about statistics. We're out there all the time, and we talk to people. People are afraid to come out of the high-rises because of the drug deals, and they're afraid they're going to get their purse snatched so somebody can buy a dime bag. This is a reality. I don't see the Fall River. I don't see the Fall River that I saw 25 years ago. We know that. And to try to look at this or try to spin it through rose-colored glasses, we have to acknowledge a problem. Is crime in this city a bigger problem? And if you're saying it's not, and anybody who says it's not and saying that it's the media, the media didn't come up with those statistics. They were based, and we know how statistics can be manipulated. Like the Durfee graduation rate. When you look at the Durfee graduation rate and you only see how many seniors dropped out, it's not the same as if you look at how many people entered as a freshman and then didn't graduate. So that's when you want to manipulate a statistic positively, just like police departments and fire departments. If you want to get more grant money, you want to show crime, you arrest a guy with 8 warrants, it's 8 separate arrests. If you want to show a reduction in crime, it's 1 arrest. So, we all know that these things happen in real life. Forget about that, because this is all part of the looking for grants, looking to manipulate statistics. But walking out on a street in front of high-rises, and I live in the Flint, near 2 high-rises, and I know those elderly people, and I see them. They see drug deals outside. Maybe it's not crime per se, but there's a pervasive environment. We see a difference in our demographic. What I see when I look at federal statistics, our population has gone down. The demographic makeup of our population has changed. We've lost the majority of our workforce, and the perception of most people who live outside the North End, not casting any aspersions on people who live in the North End, but it's just the reality. It's a higher, just like in any community, and you can't put a police officer at every corner. But I mean, are we going to get a actual acceptance of the fact that we do have a problem here. And I know what you said yesterday. You said, look, when a cousin murders a cousin, you can't do it. And you're right.
Correct.
But that's anywhere in the United States.
Correct.
If a wife gets murdered, who's the first suspect? The husband.
Correct.
Right? So, but that's not the issue.
Or the butler.
Or the butler, or the boyfriend. Yeah. But the thing is, when you have people running down South Main Street firing weapons, yeah, they had an argument. But then again, what does that speak to the decision-making process? Yeah. Who builds a courthouse in the middle of Main Street, where you're going to get all these criminals who do things like this and stick them in an area where we have a high density of elderly people? And to say that people, and we had the mayor on, and I'm going to call him on it when he's here. He said, well, I don't see that. Well, maybe you're not in the right place. Yeah. And I just want you to comment on it. I know it's a long thing, but it's something that we have to really
clear. I made those comments yesterday about two cousins, and you agreed.
Yeah.
That you're never going to prevent that.
Yeah.
But let's make one thing perfectly clear. I grew up and lived most of my life on Tecumseh Street. And I think Tecumseh Street is one of the toughest streets back in the day. I'm sure you can remember.
It still is, and so is the Flint.
Still is, correct.
Yeah.
So my wife grew up in the Flint. So I know about what people go through living on Tecumseh Street. I was 28 years old when I moved out of Tecumseh Street. And the only reason I moved to where I live now, because it was the cheapest lot of land in the city I could find at that time, believe it or not. So the North End has less problems than the South End for one reason. The higher number of single-family homes, higher concentration is in the North End. Now, if we were to look at crime throughout the city, yes, I understand we have a crime problem, as all cities of our size have. In cities like Fall River, Taunton, New Bedford, Worcester, Springfield, Fall River, Boston. We've been fighting crime as hard as we can. We try to put as many police officers on the streets because criminals hate police officers. They hate police cruisers. When they see police presence, they tend to go somewhere else. So that's something that we have to concentrate on. Where is the crime activity taking place? Like I said in the past, we implemented Operation Blue Thunder back in the day. And there were a lot of people that had outstanding warrants. We were out there, they were committing a lot of crime, and they said, listen, the police department, we put some money in the overtime account to bring in the police officers. We had this big operation. We arrested an enormous amount of people that had warrants out for their arrest. That type of stuff will help fight the crime. And you're right, back in the day with Ed Lambert, and Ed Lambert gave me one of these citations for my community service. He appreciates the work that I do in the community. But things were a little bit different back then. We did have more police presence, more fire presence. When the 9C cuts came, and you're well aware of that, we had to take a hit. We had to close Government Center on Fridays. People were laid off. We still haven't recouped the employees at Government Center. We had to make some public safety decisions. Everyone took an 8.5% cut in their paychecks. So there was some pain and suffering that went on. And ever since those 9C cuts, as the state and the government got its money back in order and was making better, and now the economy is thriving, so the money is abundance. We've slowly put on more police, more fire, and give them more equipment to do their job. That's the key. You have to make sure that you give more police officers the right equipment, more firefighters the right equipment to do their job. That's something I'm proud to have been doing. I know the mayor says that he's done this and he's done that. Well, I've been a part of it as well. He hasn't done it by himself. He didn't do it in a bubble. It's working with me and other people to get that stuff done. So I'm proud of my record as far as public safety goes. I'm proud of my record with education, and we need to do more of that. The more we can infiltrate these gangs and these people who are committing crime at a younger age, the more we can show them that there's a right and a wrong, and I know right from wrong, and they do as well, and sometimes they chose to go down that road of wrong because they don't have many other options. We need to give them more options and show them that there's a different light at the end of the tunnel, that what people are doing in their neighborhood. I grew up on Tecumseh Street, but I never stole from anyone. I was never arrested in my life. I was never charged with any of these crimes that have been going on because my parents told me there's right from wrong and you better make sure you do what's right or else you're not going to like the other side of it. And that's something that we have to instill in children at a young age, that although it may sound nice and it may be an easy way to get some money and do some things illegally, it's not the road you want to go down, because at the end of the day, nobody survives that way. You don't want to be hearing a police siren and then turning around out of fear that that police siren might be coming after you. It's not a good way to go through life. And we have to have more involvement with our youth in our community. That's why I spend so much time coaching kids, telling kids, it's not about the sport all the time. It's about making right decisions. It's about knowing that other people are out there who care about you and want to show you that there are other alternatives other than what you see in your surrounding areas and your surrounding neighborhoods. A lot of the stuff that I do with the youth was in the south end of the city. A lot of the stuff that I did was something that I felt I needed to do because when I was younger, people did that with me. I was taken off the streets a lot because I was involved in a lot of different programs, a lot of different things. My parents knew that if I didn't get involved in these things, I was going to find trouble, and that's the problem. We have to make sure that we create enough things for children that want to do something different, that don't want to be involved in the situation. We can provide it for them, and that's something that we've been doing for a long time.
Well, that's you covered a lot of ground too, and I think you've given some of your how you're going to accomplish
as
this.
mayor, I'm going to make sure
how
that
you're going to accomplish this. But it brings us to another statement, which I believe is true. We don't retain our graduates because I've got the statistics on that. We graduate people. They go to college and then they don't come back to Fall River. And that's about the community and the problems that are pervasive in our community. As you said, all cities have it. We have it to a higher degree now because obviously we house more elderly who are more susceptible to crime. We also end up with a lot of drug addicts that end up in Fall River. But the reality is we're going to retain this. But along those lines, because I think public safety is fundamentally the foundation, education and public safety.
Correct.
So number one, we're not retaining our people who do get educated. Secondly, public safety. Somebody said there are 20 cars in New Bedford. There's 10 in Fall River. And you and I know, to my knowledge, I think we still have the same amount of cars we had 30 years ago when you could leave your doors open in most neighborhoods in Fall River. And I think that's one of the problems, as you said, and I'm going to reiterate what you said. Criminals don't like police cars, and the more police cars we have on the road, so as the mayor, are you going to look to, when we do hire people, allocate those resources to being
on the streets. It's
more
boots
cars,
on the streets, cars on the streets.
More vehicles.
Someone said we have only 10, but that's not true. We have more than 10. On some given times, we have as much as 16 to 15. We have vice units, undercover. There's other things that we do have. We just you don't see those because they're undercover. But you're right. I think the key is to put more police presence on the street, more cars, more police involvement.
Patrol cars,
cars,
not
absolutely.
vice and stuff.
Because we want to make sure that people not only feel safe, but that they actually are safe. There's a big difference. It's one thing to feel safe if you're not safe, because nothing's happening around you, but we need to make sure that they are safe. We want to make sure that if we want businesses, we want to have a tourism director, we want someone to come here from outside this community. No one's going to come here if they feel they're not safe. Who's going to want to come to the nice restaurants we have that are put on phenomenal food for a great price? It's a big secret, it's a big gem that we have in this community. We know it, we take advantage of it. But people from outside this community, sometimes they're leery to come here because they feel that they're not safe. We have to change that. We have to make sure that they know that they are going to be safe when they come to our community and they have nothing to worry about any more than any other community.
One quick one, we got to get in and you can close because we're running out. I hear a lot of people saying, how is any mayor going to reduce our public housing? We have way too much public housing, and it's problematic because most of the people we see in public housing are not from Fall River, and normally housing authorities don't give us their best and brightest when they get rid of people.
Yeah, well, listen, public housing is something that I worked to reduce in Watuppa Heights years ago when we had over 90 vacant apartments, and the federal government and the state government wanted to give us millions of dollars to rehab those apartments for people outside of this community. We said, look, the few people who were living in Watuppa Heights at the time, we can put them in other units that are readily available. They're Fall River people. We're not going to kick them out of the city. But there are a lot of people that from outside this community that didn't have public housing in their community, and the reason they come here, not because they wanted to come here, because there was nothing else available for them anywhere else. So I'm going to go to the State House and work with the state reps, work with the senators to make sure that those monies that they want to rehab some of our public housing here gets put into other communities to build public housing there. We don't need to rehab more public housing here. Now, I will say this. There are a certain percentage of people who are from Fall River, have lived here their entire life, and don't have the means to pay their extremely low income, and we shouldn't kick those people out. We should make sure that we provide a place where they can continue to live in the community they grew up in, the community where their parents grew up in, and for whatever reason they have, whether they're veterans who were handicapped, whether they're people who just weren't able to make it and have a big pension fund and a big 401k fund, if they're struggling, we're not going to turn our back on those people. Those are not the public housing people, the low-income people that we want to kick out of here. It's people that come here at a young age and have nothing else to add other than crime and that type of stuff. And we have to target exactly who we keep here and take care of, and exactly who we disperse somewhere else.
Well said, Joe. Thank you for your commitment to our city.
Just want to finish on this. On March 12th, I extremely appreciate your vote for Mayor of Fall River, and I will work as hard as I can to make this city a better place, as I've been doing during my entire tenure on the City Council. I appreciate and I respectfully ask for your vote for Mayor of the City of Fall River on March 12th. Thank you very much, Chipper. Thank you, CJ, and I want to thank FRC Media for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thanks for having us.